You have an empty water bottle, and you go to fill this up. So you find a drinking fountain, and you awkwardly manipulate your bottle so that you can get as much water as possible. And you do get some water in this bottle, but ultimately you still have a big empty space. And this empty space is something that you can't ever fill from this water fountain. I've seen numerous times that I've been taking my bottle to the drinking fountain and just finding this half fulfillment. Because if I'm a water bottle, then I have always looked at my life of, let me get fulfillment. Let me find whatever water is going to fill this bottle completely. But too often in my life, I've been going to a drinking fountain for that fulfillment, and I never ended up getting my bottle completely filled. These numerous fountains I kept finding. I've seen a trace of them from the very early stages of my life. I've always been trying to achieve, to feel valued, to feel a worthy member of my family, of my school, of society, I suppose. I was trying to find that achievement through school, and then it manifested through sports. Then I got into high school, and it was a very large realm of people and activities and adventures. Ultimately, I found relationships and boys and male attention as this way of fulfilling my value and figuring out if I was someone who was worthy of attention, of somebody liking me. I started getting into the party scene and was looking for entertainment and looking for friends, crazy adventures, and being the most bold or daring or wild, or in other words, whoever could drink the most. Ultimately, this came up incredibly short, and I felt very empty at the end of the day. The drinking and partying and all of those things came up short. So maybe if I had a significant other, maybe if I had a serious boyfriend, then I could find that fulfillment. And to be perfectly honest, that really did consume me. That made me think that my water bottle was full and that I had everything that I needed. And when I just kept getting disappointed and discouraged and frustrated, I got to this point of realizing, is this really all I have? Is this the most fulfillment I'm ever gonna get? In these relationships that are just confusing, and friendships that are ultimately empty and filled with just mindless activity. Is this all I have? And I had to ask myself that question. And thankfully, I found that answer through my relationship, but not necessarily with my significant other, my boyfriend, but through his family and the incredible light that they had for Jesus. I sat there a lot and questioned and wondered, what makes them so different? I knew that they went to church, and I knew that my boyfriend did too, but it didn't really seem like that could be the answer. But eventually, my boyfriend's father said, hey, if you're gonna start getting really serious with this girl, then you need to start taking her to church. I would certainly be willing to try it out. Let's go. It was a difficult decision because before that moment that I walked into the church, I had some very distinct ideas about God and about church. I felt that God was only for the weak. God is maybe there, but I knew nothing about a relationship, and I knew nothing about what he could offer. I was only there because it was a practice, and it was something that people decided to do, and they did for a bunch of good moral reasons. So the first couple of times that I went to church, we have a notepad so that when we're listening to the sermon, we can keep going along with him. But I found that as I was filling out these notes and filling in the blanks, that I kept wanting to change everything that it said. Something would say, we should do good deeds to glorify God. And then I would say, we should do good deeds to be a good person. And I would just keep manipulating everything. I actually turned to my boyfriend and said, hey, this church thing is great because you can get the whole Jesus thing and I can get the whole good person thing. But I kept going, and at one point our worship leader ended up praying, God, we are so desperate for you, and we're so undeserving, and we need your love. So I sat back and was like, I don't really like that. I thought church was supposed to be this big happy place. That doesn't make sense to me at all, and that kind of rubbed me the wrong way. I'm not a fan of that, and I kind of disregarded it. I didn't ask anyone what it meant, but I kept going, and I kept trying to understand. Eventually, my boyfriend was leaving, and he was going to be gone for 4 months, and I couldn't see him. This is the guy that I thought filled my water bottle. He became my everything, and he was going to leave, and I was broken and really scared and lonely. So I ended up going to church a couple of days before he left. I was sitting there, and at the very end, after the sermon, the worship leader prayed, God, we're so desperate for you, and we're so undeserving, and we need your love. And it clicked. It made sense. I was like, oh, yeah, I totally feel all of those things, and I would really like a greater love, this love that everyone is talking about. And I looked down and I looked at my notes, and I noticed that I hadn't changed a thing. And I knew at that moment that God had changed my heart. I realized that God had done something huge in my life, and my initial reaction, to be honest, was to keep it all inside. I internally processed that decision for a very long time, and I was just trying to figure out what it actually meant, because I was very aware that I came to that realization when I was in a low, and I wanted to make sure that I really knew what this meant, even when I wasn't in a low. A lot of what I heard in sermons and messages and other people's conversations was this consistency that God offered, and I wanted to be just as consistent. I came to this point of, how can I get to know Christ better? As I kept looking at my life, there were many things that kept me from loving Him better, kept me from giving my entire heart to Him. Sadly, my relationship was something that left me there. I knew that my relationship wasn't honoring, and I wanted to change that. I wanted to give God my entire heart. I wanted to give Him that even before I really started communicating that to others. So it would be a surprise for my boyfriend to hear that I completely changed all of my thoughts. Wanted to walk away from that relationship because I was putting Him first instead of God. So that was a really tough point for me, a really tough point for him. And ultimately, it's something that I needed to do because I needed to surrender to be able to finally accept Jesus for everything that He's offering and make Him my everything in life. You'd think that the very natural part would be that my bottle would be filled completely with Jesus. But unfortunately, I'm still a sinner, and I'm still in a habit of filling myself and filling this water bottle with water fountains. And the very next step that I took after leaving that relationship was looking for that value and that fulfillment from people, from ministry, from serving. And it was awesome to be serving, and I'm still serving in those same places, but my heart attitude was entirely different. I was looking to those things to fulfill me and still walking away really empty. So when I got to a point that I was just tired and overwhelmed and wiped out and discouraged, I knew that something had gone wrong. Something wasn't right. I still wasn't looking to God to fulfill my bottle. I really had to start looking at my heart and recognize why I was serving, why I was in ministry, why I was even following the Lord, and why I gave up that relationship and so many of the other things of my past. And ultimately, it was because I wanted to be filled by God, but I didn't know how to do that. I didn't know what that looked like. And at a certain point, my health was even terrible. It got to this point that I was passing out 4 to 5 times a week. and just had no energy, and I was stressed, and so many bad things were going on. And I'm sitting here, Jesus, I just want to follow you. I want to be able to give myself to you. And I've been serving you in ministry, but now am I just going to serve you from my bed? I recognize that, yeah, this could be how God uses me, but he also is an incredible God who is capable of incredible healings. So eventually when I found that healing, it was incredible and it showed me so much, but my sinful nature jumped right back into ministry and right back into service. I was trying to find my fulfillment again through all of those things. And luckily I wasn't passing out anymore, which was good, but I was still stressed and I was still worried. And I didn't know why, and I wanted to come to the bottom of that. Ultimately, I found that I was in this root sin of people-pleasing. Even in ministry, I sit there and wonder, am I being everything for everyone here in this ministry? Was I welcoming enough when they walked in? Was I friendly enough? Did I say hi? Am I being a spiritual leader? Am I showing wisdom? Am I speaking the word of Christ right now? Am I giving truth? Does this person need more compassion? Does this person need more tough love? Does this person need an entertaining friend? Does this person need joy? And how can I provide all of these things, and how can I be more and more for everyone and what they need? And those thoughts just get exhausting and tiring. It was just deeply affecting how I found this fulfillment, because I was looking to people and I was just jumping from water fountain to water fountain. I got to this point and realized that God doesn't want my good intentions. God didn't want this heart attitude of just coming and serving him and being in ministry because I had to. He wanted me there out of a love for him and a love to share his word and to be able to encourage others. And then I realized, yeah, that's how I got started in this. That's how I decided to start serving in ministry, because of that love for Jesus. And somewhere along the road, I lost it. Somewhere along the road, I went up to another water fountain. So I had to change. And earlier I said that I didn't know how to start following God. I didn't know how to let him fill up that bottle. And to be perfectly honest, that's kind of where I still am. I'm looking to him moment by moment, daily, and just asking him to sustain me and to fulfill me, and to let him be that fountain that can fill in every single space. I'm Amanda Isaacson, and I'm a daughter of the King.